Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing Python. We're going to be learning about data types. So the first one was just the basic intro. What is programming languages? Why choose Python, right? So today we're actually not going to get our feet wet and do dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is when we actually take a set of instructions and we modify it to do something in the computer. So for example, we can do like an addition or find something in your text file and read it from a terminal. It's something that I'm going to teach you later on in the content, but for now, today we're going to learn about data types, and I'm just going to go ahead and list them on here and show you each one of them. Mostly just explain to you what they do and what they hold, so that way when we use them in our following video, you already know up to date what they do and what they are. So in Python, they're called data types, and these data types, I just want you to think about it as a value. It's a value in Python. So every programming language has data types. So in data types, if you're a computer science student and you're subscribing to this, you already should know what data types is. And some of the ones that you're going to be seeing on here, you should already recognize them. So int is just going to be where it holds all the numbers. I'm going to go ahead and list them on here first, and then I'm going to go ahead and explain to you each one of them. So int is just gonna hold all numbers. So it could hold, I could say, let's say for example, int equals 10. I'm holding. You have to put this because these brackets means you're putting something in there, and it's gonna be the value of 10. So in there I'm gonna hold 10 numbers, but it wouldn't know it's gonna hold 10 values if it didn't have int. So the basics is it's going to hold a value of numbers. So if you ever want to hold numbers or anything, you're going to use the data type int. Float means just real numbers, so they will represent in decimals. And boolean, sometimes called bool, it just represents, it allows you to create any values, either true or false. So if you wanted to do a true or false if and else statement. If and else statements, I'll get about that later on. So right now it's just data types, but just want you to know that boolean is just a true or false value. And str just means it will hold all letters, so it's just a string type. So like, remember yesterday when we were just typing print and it had like a string of hello, how are you? That's a string of letters. So you see already says str is just objects of a string. It creates a new string object from the given object. So whatever we put on there, make sure that it's a string. You don't want to go ahead and put a number, like let's say out of the quotes you put 10. It's not, you could put 10 because it's a string, you're saying it out. But if you wanted to have a value of a number, you can't just put 10. You gotta put plus my int number, which was 10. And I'll get more later on forward in the class on how to work like that in those dynamic programmings. List is just order sequence of elements, so I can have in a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is just a simple list. Tuple is just a sequence of like lists, but it's just gonna have a sequence. So it could be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Doesn't have to be in a specific order. And a set is just a collection of which is very an order, an index. So in index in computers, they read from 0 to 1. So let's say I have 10 values. Let's go with a shorter number. So let's say I have five values, right? And the computer reads this as indexes. Like each index will start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whenever I want to look for that 5 index, which is going to be my number 5, so I have 5 numbers, right? My 5 numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the index from the computer is reading 0. It's going to be 1 value. And number 1 is going to be the 2 value. And 2 is going to be the 3 value. And 3 is going to be the 4 value. And 4 is going to be the 5th value. So in here is going to be reading only 4 indices. Why? Because in computer it always starts with the 0. It never starts with 1, 2, 3. No. So always when you want to read an index, remember that you specify, hey, if I'm looking for 0, it's going to look for that number. So that's really what it means, just a set that is on index. It's not organized, it doesn't have indexes or nothing. There's just a bunch of random numbers of collections on there. It could collect anything, collect strings or anything, but it's a set of collections that are on order. And a dictionary is just a pair of values. It would just hold, for example, an app development. We use a dictionary to hold users. So let me show you over here in my users. I use give me a second to show you a real life example of where we can use dictionary. So dictionary are also one of the things that we can use in programming that will hold value. So these terms really mean a lot. No matter what languages you are in, they're always going to be the same kind of terms. It's just going to be written differently, and they can be used differently in whatever language you are. But in here I use a dictionary that would hold my documents in one with my data. So in here you can just hold maybe like a dictionary of numbers or values or something, but it's just a dictionary. So I want you to remember that always in data types, it's just storing information. That's all it is. And the two crucial steps when learning a new programming language is you have to know data types. You have to know which data types that programming language has. You have to recognize them. You have to learn how to modify them, because later on these little words are going to be used for bigger programs that we're going to modify. Maybe we're going to do like a calculator. Maybe we're going to calculate the tax, how much you owe on a loan, and you need an int and a float or a boolean if it's true or not. So you got to make sure you know all these data types, okay? Another thing that we can do, we can actually build our own data types, and they're mainly called classes. So we can create our own classes in Python, and that's basically creating our own data type. Give me a second, it's giving me a little trouble here. So let's say we were just to write a class, right? And I could write, for example, I could write supercoder, you know? I'm writing I'm just writing any data that later I'm gonna use. But you have to make sure that you're using it at class. You do a class and then it creates your data type. The data types are just the ones that already come with the programming language that always been. But another thing cool in Python, you can actually create your own data type by using a class. So then right now it's not gonna do anything, but later on when we do dynamic programming, it's gonna be important for us to know the difference between a data type and creating our own class. But you can create anything on here. You can create maybe like another value that you're going to use in your program, but you got to make sure that you use class. Another thing to note is that we also have extensions. I'm not going to get into that right now because we're new, and I'm also a new beginner of Python. But extensions, just think about it as, let me go back to real life example of coding. So extensions would just be like, you're holding in like values of like what that you're going to use repeatedly in your program. So you don't want to keep doing them over and over again. So you just have extensions that are called models. Models in Python are called models. But we'll speak about that later on when we get there. But I want you to also remember, for one of the last things, I'm going to end it a little bit. I want you to remember that there's also a data type called none. And basically what none is, it just means nothing. Like the idea of just nothing. It just holds the value of 0. And in programming, that's going to be very important. So whenever you're using like data structures class and you want to have like a null, like an empty stack, I know all these terms probably for you are like, whoa, calm down, I don't know none of that. But to some of the CS friends that you do know, these are very important. It always comes up, we're always going to use the value of 0 for something, So it's always remember that in Python you just say none. None just means it will hold the value of nothing. So that is it just for now. Just taught you a little bit of like, the brief intro of what data types is and what we'll be using later on. So in the coming video, we're going to be able to use int, float, and boolean to show you a little bit what those actions can do. But go ahead and leave a comment if you ever want to learn another programming languages, or if you were a little bit lost on today's. But just go ahead and remember to follow on Replit, so that way you can, next video, you can start coding with me along in the session. And once again, thanks for all the new subscribers. Y'all are real. See you in another time.